Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, you already know who it is. It is your boy Lewis, and I am once again back with another banger with yet another video. You guys already know the drill. You do three things, man. First thing you do is hit that like button. Second thing is hit that subscribe button. And third is to hit that notification bell to always receive the latest and greatest content as I always try to provide for you guys. I want to thank you guys for always taking the time to watch my videos, man. And, once again, man, I hope everyone is having a wonderful Sunday. And before I begin with this video, shout out to RB The Breakthrough. Shout out to the super chatters. Shout out to the moderators. Shout out to all the chatters. That live stream was lit. And the fact that RB is doing call-ins, I'm telling you right now, RB The Breakthrough, bro, this is the reason why I subscribe to your channel, man. It is just that amazing in terms of what you do, man, what you do for the basketball community and what you're doing for all of us, man. We always continue to learn. Every single time we learn from you. And I'm definitely pulling up and giving you a call tomorrow. Definitely when you do the next call-in live stream. I'm trying to be one of the first ones for sure, but I'm definitely going to do the call-in. Yo, once again, man, shout out to Ciara Dean. I'm going to say this right now. Girl, that call that you made, like, put you on the pedestal of Mount Rushmore. Like, they need to put a fifth head in there. So, we got Magic, we got Kareem, we got Bill Russell, and we got MJ. They need to put Ciara Dean right next to that, because that call that you had, you literally was the GOAT. Like, all the chatters who had the call-ins were great, but Ciara Dean, you was on another level. You was spitting nothing but straight facts. And like RB said, and I even said it in the chat, man, you were holding it down for the ladies. Definitely you, and shout out to Patricia Sutton. Both of you ladies definitely know your basketball. Those are facts, straight facts, facts only. So shout out to both ladies, man. Definitely appreciate it. But yeah, this video right here is gonna pertain to a little bit on, what James Harden, on the comments that Kobe had made about James Harden in the, about his play style not winning championships. Because one of the things that people kind of tend to do here is, again, how does it somehow connect to LeBron, is because of the fact that LeBron has had all these insurmountable odds and how he's faced all these great teams that how he's had to go up against them and all this kind of stuff. Well, today's video is pertaining to one particular team, and this is the 2013 Los Angeles Lakers. And what's really unique and interesting about this team is I'm going to explain why this was a failed super team. Because if you guys remember, Steve Nash and Dwight Howard were both acquired in the offseason of 2012. At the time, Kobe was in the Olympics with LeBron. LeBron had just came off winning the championship when there was a lockout season with all those great players that were competing for the gold in London at the time. And so news had just broke on ESPN while Kobe was in practice that Steve Nash was acquired by the Phoenix Suns. I don't remember if he was a free agent or if he was traded there. One of you guys could remind me, but I know they had acquired him. And then at the same token, Dwight Howard was acquired from the Orlando Magic and traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. Dwight Howard had signed a contract with Orlando before being traded to the Lakers. And I remember when that trade came through, because if you guys remember, in the lockout season, the Lakers were supposed to get Chris Paul. Chris Paul was 26 years old at the time, young Chris Paul, but they couldn't get him because the NBA owned the Hornets. All the NBA owners own a share of the Hornets, and David Stern, because remember, the commissioners does have to answer to the owners, but the trade got nullified. And it was voided. So what happens is that Kobe did not end up getting the great point guard that he actually got to play with, because Kobe never played with a great point guard his entire career, and he would have had that opportunity with Chris Paul, who was an All-NBA player, who was making first-team All-Defensive teams, and he was the best point guard in the game at the time. It was just unfortunate. So it was kind of the NBA saying, Kobe, we're putting an end to you winning championships. So the Lakers got the next best thing, and they got Steve Nash, and then they get Dwight Howard. And people were gloat, and people were saying, oh man, Kobe might have a chance to win a championship because this is looking like a super team, Dwight Howard, you got the best big man in the game at the time. You get Pau Gasol, another big who's Kobe playing with. He's a very skilled big man. and you get Steve Nash, Kobe's playing with that top point guard. But people need to remember this, though. Steve Nash was already 38 years old by the time that they got him. He was playing at an elite level, and he came off one of his better seasons as having a career year. But remember, he is 38 years old. People also forget that the coach of that team was Mike Brown when the Lakers started that season. And the Lakers fired him after the first 5 games, through the first 5 games of the season. The Lakers started 1-4. And people also forget that before Kobe went on to have this unbelievable, underrated season, Kobe was, his field goal percentage through the first, I want to say, 10 or 20 games of that year, he was shooting over 50%. But what ended up happening, and it's so crazy that people forget this, but Steve Nash got injured. Damian Lillard, it was his rookie season, and in a game in Portland, I believe this was about the 3rd or 4th game of the season, Damian Lillard's knee ends up colliding with Steve Nash's calf. Steve Nash had a pinched nerve that nobody really knew about. And what's so crazy about that pinched nerve injury that Steve Nash had in his calf, Steve Nash had been playing with that injury since his days in Dallas. And we're talking about 2003 or 2004. Nash had been playing with a pinched nerve in his calf. But what happened was, as soon as Lillard made contact, that calf muscle that Lillard hit ended up causing Steve Nash to get back problems. So it furthered his delay in his return. And Steve Nash did not play many games that year. People also need to also remember that Dwight Howard was not Dwight Howard, because Dwight Howard rushed himself back from having a back injury that he suffered in the playoffs. Brendan Haywood actually ended up injuring him with his back injury. And Dwight Howard played with a torn labrum, which nobody really talks about. People also forget that Pau Gasol had a hamstring injury, and he also played with the knee injury that season. And people also forget that Mike Brown, after he got fired 5 games into the season, that Mike D'Antoni, when he took over, he had these 7 seconds or less offense. And his 7 seconds or less of offense was always that run and gun style, try to push the ball up the court before the defense gets set. The main issue is that in order for your offensive style to work, you have to have the right personnel. And Mike D'Antoni did not have the right personnel on that 2013 Lakers team. His personnel was really not that good in terms of that he had 2 bigs. Pau Gasol would have had to have been a stretch 4 in order for that system to work. And it was even to the point that Mike D'Antoni had was battling with Pau Gasol to having him come off the bench, which Pau Gasol refused, because him and Dwight Howard could not play together because of the fact that both guys clogged the lane. So due to all of that, it resulted in Kobe having to be the shot jacker. So he had to become the center of the offense. And Kobe was not a fan of the D'Antoni style. Remember, this was back years ago, when Kobe was the ball dominant player on those bad Laker teams. He was a fan of D'Antoni's style of play at first. And it's always a thing, like sometimes things always look fun from afar until you experience it yourself. When all these injuries happened, Kobe did not. First of all, Kobe was excited to have Nash and Dwight Howard because he didn't want to be the person carrying in, trying to be pretty much doing too much. Like, he wanted to do primarily one thing, and he wanted everybody else to do their job. Dwight Howard's mindset was he thought that he was going to come in and was be able to score and rebound and do the same things that he did in Orlando. And people need to remember the style of offense and the style of personnel that they had around Dwight Howard was kind of like similar to how they had Hakeem Olajuwon with the Rockets. It was put a bunch of shooters around Dwight Howard, and he'd be the focal point of the offense, where, again, the ball would be dumped into the post if they happen to double Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard reminds me of Patrick Ewing in the fact that they were both not great passers out of double teams, but they surrounded shooters to try to make him into the next Hakeem Olajuwon. But but like I said, he had success with it. He was able to go to the finals. But people forget that that drastic injury that Jameer Nelson suffered kind of derailed his career into terms of what him and Dwight Howard really could have been, because the pick and roll that those guys did was pretty much unbelievable. Their pick and roll gave a lot of teams problems. And when Jameer was healthy, I told you, go look at Jameer's 2009 season when he made the All-Star team. That dude was balling that year, and his numbers were very impressive, playing with a superstar in Dwight Howard. But you know, they won't talk about that. But he had a really big season, and it gets lost in the shuffle. But you know, back to this. So Dwight Howard's numbers were very pedestrian. I remember Kobe was saying that he was expecting Dwight to be a defender and a rebounder because he felt like it was going to be the best chance to win. Dwight wanted to be the focal point of the team. And quite honestly, Kobe honestly wanted to give the keys to Dwight Howard. It was kind of basically telling him how much did he want to be that dominant player. Like if he wanted it, he's like, because Kobe was kind of looking at Dwight to see, is like, I wonder if he could be kind of like Shaq. Because if you guys remember, Dwight Howard was being compared to Shaq with the way that Dwight would dunk the basketball, with the fact that he played on the Magic like Shaquille O'Neal, with the fact that his personality, with the way he was kind of reminding people of like Shaq. But when it came to the mental approach to the game and taking the game seriously, that's where Kobe saw the difference. And that's where Kobe was kind of turned off and pretty much kind of pissed off at him. And that's what made Kobe say, you know what, I don't know if this guy has what it takes to want to win an NBA championship, because of the way of his mentality. And it's like, if you've seen Dwight Howard's career, you can easily get into his head very easy. That was something that you could do to Shaq in the beginning of his career. But once he had Phil Jackson, he was mentally able to become a more mature player. It was the same thing with Kobe. Phil Jackson was able to maintain and control that male energy that both players had, even though their egos drove them to the success that they had. But that was the one thing that Kobe didn't see in Dwight Howard, and that's why Kobe was very frustrated with him at times. And even Steve Nash, when they played together, Nash at times was very frustrated with the way Dwight was playing basketball too. And just his mental approach to the game and just trying to do the X's and O's. But Kobe was also not a fan of D'Antoni's offense. He wasn't a fan of it just because of what he saw of the type of load that he would have, and he was forced to do it. And that's what I think Kobe kind of lost some respect for D'Antoni, because he realized that the triangle offense was very structured, and I think Kobe missed that. Because, again, he knew where guys were going to be in certain spots on the floor. Because remember, with D'Antoni's offense, you're not really in a particular spot. Guys are supposed to be moving in motion. But the problem is he had bigs. So when you have bigs on your team that can barely, well, first of all, Dwight Howard can run the floor and so can Pau Gasol. But can they continue to go back and forth at that pace for a 48-minute game? That's going to be the question. And you have to remember, again, both of those guys are in the paint. So Pau Gasol can't really be a stretch four. I mean, he can shoot, but he can't shoot consistently from the outside. Like, Pau Gasol is inside out. Like, he can mix it up from the outside and the inside, but he starts out inside out. Dwight Howard is not a shooter, so we already know that. His game is based on power. So, because his game is based on power, he has to be in the post. And they both can't clog the lane. So that's why D'Antoni was trying to make him to become more of like a three-point shooter, at least like from the corner, and try to make him come off the bench. So there was just a lot of things, and Kobe had to be the guy carrying and will that Laker team to the playoffs, because one, they had injuries on the team, but again, they didn't have the personnel to actually have the right style of offense. And Kobe had to burden the scoring load. So because he had to shoot more shots, it lowered his field goal percentage. But yeah, he was still able to shoot 47%. And remember, all of that burden that Kobe took, it ended up burning him to the ground, because he was expending so much energy, playing so many minutes, guarding the top point guards in the NBA. See, that's another thing that people don't even remember or tend to forget. Kobe was guarding the elite point guards in the game of basketball. So he was guarding Chris Paul. He was guarding Kyrie Irving. He was guarding Russell Westbrook. Like, he was guarding the young point guards, top point guards. I mean, you know, the John Walls of the world. And it's like, you know, he was guarding all of these players. And that's like, people just tend to forget that. That's why it was one of Kobe's more underrated seasons, because he had to deal with a lot of injuries. He had to deal with the fact that Mike Brown got fired. And Kobe really, to me, didn't respect Mike Brown, because Mike Brown to me was kind of, he had a issue on trying to like how to handle Kobe, and it was kind of like Mike Brown to me was kind of treating Kobe as to the point where like he didn't want to step on his toes, and would kind of ask him questions that would, you know, kind of put Kobe in a state of confusion as to be like, what is he talking about? And with D'Antoni tried to implement a system that just didn't fit with the pieces that were on that team. Like with the roster that they had, it just wasn't going to work. And so Kobe was kind of forced to go back to what he once was. And he was hoping that with Steve Nash, it would take away his ball handling duties and Steve Nash could put him in the right spots. He would be able to put it with, Dwight Howard, because you would have thought that Kobe would have thrived off with Nash, and it was the same thing with Nash. Like it would be easier for him, and it would kind of keep down the defensive liability that Steve Nash has pretty much been his whole career. But that didn't work, and so that's why the Lakers only ended up winning 45 games. But at least Kobe willed them, and it's funny, his play down the stretch inspired the Lakers to play as well as they did, and Dwight Howard was just starting to get healthy again. But even then, so it took Dwight Howard quite a while to be healthy. So, and that's what people just continuously like fail to understand, and they leave that part out. Like Dwight Howard showed that he looked like he just wasn't meant to be that guy to lead the charge for a championship team. And the paradigm, honestly, and the way the league was evolving was starting to change. Because if you guys remember, the Miami Heat won the championship with your dominant player being LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. And they won it in that very season in 2013. So you were talking about wing players being the centerpiece of championships. If you guys remember, Michael Jordan and Isaiah Thomas, they proved to you that they changed the paradigm of winning championships without having a dominant big man, whether it be a power forward or a center. Even though you build through your team with a center back in the day. That was the marquee. That was the foundation to win. That was the marquee. You had to have a big man to win championships and build around that position. But that was why the 2013 Lakers were a failed super team. It's because there was turmoil, there were injuries, and Kobe ended up had to become the carrying the team. He didn't want to do that. And it was, again, he didn't respect the offense because he realized of what the offense was actually doing to him, and that offense burned him to the ground. Now, in defense of Mike D'Antoni, Kobe was also very stubborn too. So, like, even at times where he should have sat out, Kobe refused to sit out and just continue playing. So, if you want to look at it from both sides. But you have to have, and that's why with Phil Jackson, that's why he's really the one coach that can honestly, keep Kobe in check, even though Kobe at times would, again, not listen, but he would be able to keep him in check. It's that structure that Kobe needed to help him understand how to win and realize that you didn't have to go all crazy to be able to win championships, and that you could be able to be efficient, you could be able to change your game, and your mental approach to the game would be different. And that was the thing with Kobe Bryant. That's why he said that Dwight Howard, again, like, he should play defense and just rebound, because it's like Kobe wants Dwight to take it. It's like, is he just going to take it? But it was kind of like Dwight was just kind of looking for Kobe, like, oh, am I doing well? Am I doing okay? Like, I deserve credit. But it's like, you got to go out and take it. And that's what Kobe was hoping, that Dwight would earn his respect, and he didn't do that. That was the thing. But yeah, Dwight rushed too early, and I was like, I give credit for Dwight Howard for that, but his personality just told me, and it's like, he's just not meant to be in this. What happened? Dwight Howard ended up leaving the next season. Steve Nash was never really healthy, and then it led to back problems, and then Steve Nash ended up retiring. Pau Gasol was no longer there, and then he ended up getting traded after Pau Gasol stayed one more year, and then he was gone. He was in Chicago. So, a lot of things changed. But that 2013 team that a lot of people were saying, oh, but they had Dwight Howard, Steve Nash, and stuff like that. They were not the same team. They were not the same team with the injuries they had. And D'Antoni, his style of offense actually made Kobe worse than what it was. Kobe could play that style in terms of his conditioning going up and down, but without the right personnel, Kobe was pretty much burned out. And so he put so much energy and emphasis on trying to keep the Lakers afloat that while dealing with the injuries to three guys in the starting lineup, is why the Lakers were a failed super team, because people were making it as if they were a super team just because of the fact that Kobe was playing with 3 other All-Stars, quote unquote. But Nash nor Gasol nor Dwight Howard made the All-Star team. I think Dwight Howard did possibly, but the other 2 didn't. So that's what it is. But let me know what you guys think about in the comments, man. This is your boy Lewis making another once again with another video, man. Truly love and appreciate you guys for taking the time to watch this video, man. As always, man, bless up, one love, man. Peace. Thanks for watching.